Hey, I'm Dukes on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Hey, a huge thank you to my current patrons who support my content and are the ones to thank for keeping mid-roll ads off my videos. It's really humbling to be supported by other players from all around the world. I absolutely love being a member of the Maverick and wider Legacy community, and it's a real privilege to have the voice I currently have within it. If you want to join the Zenith or support me in other ways, check out the video description on how to go about that. Alright, let's do this. Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with a pretty special build. This is on some back and forth with That Maverick Joe, a patron who sent through some donation deck lists around different builds of Maverick, and one of them was a Dark BANT deck. And so what I wanted to do today was kind of go through Dark BANT, what's been there in the past, and also just kind of work out what some of the strengths are, what some of the weaknesses are. You'll see with the sideboard, there's a lot of 3-ofs, which I really love, but I feel like as you get more time with the deck, you're going to turn a lot of those 3-ofs into 2-ofs, make some room for some 1-ofs, and yeah, essentially get a better idea of the metagame. But I think what we have is pretty good. An example of where you might want to change is the 3 dismembers. You might find there's worlds where Snuff Out is better, Path to Exile is better. You might want to have a mix. You might be happy with Dismember. This version is very heavy on color requirements, of course, so there is some need for removal for Blood Moon and Magus, which is where the 3 Force, the 3 Dismember come in. I was thinking about the Forest. So the Forest, although it looked like, okay, you run a basic, that's fine. You can now find everything with Green Suns. You can have your mana online through Mana Acceleration and Mana Dorks, but the Forest is a little bit awkward. There are some hands where you just don't want it, and although it does allow you to have access to mana and Green Suns, we do have some pretty good answers for Blood Moon style matchups in the sideboard that are also castable through a Blood Moon or a Magus. So you could say, instead of having the Forest, have another dual land, maybe have a Triome, and just don't worry about Blood Moon, because post-board we have so many good answers for both ways to deal with it that you don't really need the Forest. But I do like the Forest. It's just hard to cut it. If you really don't want it, you can brainstorm it away. It's just nice to be able to, against say like a lands deck or a Delver deck, go turn on Forest into Mana Acceleration. There's no Mother of Runes here, or protection, so nothing like, turn on Forest into a Wasteland line where you lose your Mana Dork is going to stop you from casting the Mum. There are some little things, so like Forest into Noble, into Bolt on Noble, means at turn 2 you can't you can't Swords and Wasteland, so I think just having the Forest is nice. But I will note how many times the Forest is viable when it's awkward. I have pen and paper to write that down, but we will see how it performs. Hey Lucky, welcome. Yeah, Leyline is a tough one. Surgical I do like, because against a fair few of the Reanimator decks that I play against, being able to Surgical a threat that they might want to show and tell in post board is nice. Like being able to Surgical away Archon when that's really the big threat you don't want to see off a show and tell or a Traxer is kind of nice. I also I do like Leyline, and I definitely see where you're coming from, but I'm a big fan of making your opponent put resources into something and then stopping it. So obviously Leyline, your opponent knows about it from turn 0, so won't most likely do much until they find an answer for it. Sometimes you'll get lucky and they'll have like maybe Faithless Looting, trying to loot into a way to deal with it. But I do like that potentially Surgical could take out a card or two. But to be fair, you do also see Leyline in a lot of the Harry 1-2-3-2. Connor's a big fan of it, so I would say from like a competitive standpoint, there's a lot of talk or a lot of reason to run Leyline. But against combo as well, without something like Deafening Silence in the board, I do like the mixture of Thoughtseize and Surgical, being able to take decks off their namesake, such as Doomsday, or other decks like that. And I think just like on a personal level, I have had some tough times with Leyline and mulling, and knowing when to keep a hand just because of Leyline, but also being able to recognize the hand and say, hey, what is the plan with this hand? Like, sure, it has Leyline, but there's no real way to win the game with the hand, which causes me sometimes to excessively mull. Yeah, I'm pretty happy to also see, hey, what matchups do we come up against where Surgical's good, but Leyline would have been better? And if that number obviously exceeds, then it's definitely worth looking at it. The nice thing about this deck is that I really love Cephalid Coliseum. I think this card is fantastic, especially when it's, you know, there with Orcish Bowmasters and also Leovold, which we have in this list, as a Green Suns target, which is nice. This is a Brainstorm deck, which is why I maxed out on the Bowmasters, just to make sure we have answers to opposing Bowmasters. But Brainstorm really nice, especially when you do have a land like Karakas you want to keep in the deck, or you draw something like Collector Ouphe against Elves. Being able to put it back, instead of having to rely on, say, Grist to make it somewhat more than a vanilla creature, in that you can sacrifice it to deal with an opposing threat, I think Brainstorm's really nice. You do have a lot of shuffle effects. We have the 3 Knights, the Green Suns, we have 4, 5, 8 fetches, so and also the Fiend, which is nice. So I think Brainstorm will be pretty interesting. It's always tough because I find a lot of times with Maverick you want to just play out pretty much at sorcery speed, sometimes holding up swords. Brainstorm does change that a bit. Witherbloom Command is another card that I really like. Also being able to target ourselves to turn on Coliseum is quite good. Being able to deal with things like Aether Vial is quite nice as well, if we do come up against D&T. Little things like that. Like even like Chrome Mox, get rid of your creature is pretty sweet. So a big thank you, Lackey. Very cool to see you back. I believe you came back after a big break and 5-0'd with Muxus, maybe I think twice back to back, which is very cool. I believe people can also find that on YouTube via the Goblin Lackey 1 channel, which is nice. But yeah, even little things like I was thinking about Flusterstorm or Spell Pierce in the board, but then I was thinking about Veil of Summer and thinking about Grief, and where there are going to be times where I'm holding up Fluster and Grief just gets me. So I think Veil kind of has a nice crossover there. Also with things like Storm, of course, being able to just hold up Veil is quite nice. Fluster can be a little bit tricky with their own Veil of Summers, so I don't mind it there. The one thing I did want to see was potentially a Sylvan Safekeeper in the 75 as a way to protect some of my bears, like Teague, like Ouphe, against Storm decks post-board, but it's just a little bit too much of a cost, being a land, I think. But having a Mother Rune / protection spell that can be found via Green Suns, I think is really cool. You can get some wins with Night where you just sack all your lands, but yeah, I found it really tough to find a spot, obviously for Mother Runes, but also just for protection in general. So I kind of went a little bit wide with having like Teague and Ouphe in the main deck. So against some of the combo decks, we do have more than just one piece on the board that's actually kind of keeping them off that. So that's very cool. A big thank you, Panda. A big thank you, Bal, for the subs. Let's get into it. Let's see how this goes. I'm really keen to see how the numbers work. You know, potentially like Uro. Okay, Uro makes sense, but in gameplay, Uro is actually pretty awkward. A lot of times you don't really have the mana to flash it back, or you don't want to get rid of the, say, lands in the graveyard, or yeah, I'm trying out the 1 Uro because it's quite a small opportunity cost, but we'll see how that slides. But yeah, I think like with this build, I'd love to play against mono red decks, whether that's Goblins, Stompy, just to see how like the Dismembers and Forces go. I did want to find room for Snuff Out, but I don't like that Snuff Out kind of forces you to go for Bayou turn 1, which against the decks that are going to bring in Blood Moon effects post-board is really tough. So we did just offer this members as they can be cast pretty much into anything. It can get rid of Troll, which is great. It can get rid of Grief. You're going to have a lot more issues against things like reanimation targets. Obviously, this doesn't deal with Atraxa, Grizzlebrand, or Archon, but we'll see. You know, Murktide as well. You know, you don't really want to be dismembering into days against like a Delver deck on, you know, a 1/1 DRC or Delver. But to be fair, sometimes they're going to be, you know, you're taking full life, but they're going to be dealing more than full life over that turn. So it's yeah, it's a bit of a ballet. But here we go. Legacy League play points. We'll see if we do 2 leagues as well. I've got the apartment to myself this weekend, so we can just jam games all day. But yeah, I love the thought of Dark BANT, and obviously as a Maverick deck, it's very hard to not just say like, oh, look at like Bug Beanstalk. Like if you want to play these colors, why not just play Bug? It's obviously doing very well at the moment, but it's just I don't know. It's the Maverick thing. It's the creatures. It's the feel of the deck. But I think, like, you know, turn 1 mana acceleration in this deck is pretty key. Trying to get 2-for-1 plays here and there would be nice. I actually haven't tried Witherbloom in exactly Maverick, so Witherbloom will be really cool to see. I just love the thought of any sort of 2-for-1, because traditionally you look at Wasteland, usually a 1-for-1, in case your opponent maybe messes up with like a Thespian Stage Dark Depth combo. Swords to Plowshares, typically a 1-for-1. So having like potentially a 2-for-1 through Witherbloom, along with some maybe 2-for-1s with Orcish Bowmasters by taking out a creature, then double locking one. Yeah, it's really exciting to be having these like 2-for-1 kind of abilities come into Maverick, because yeah, it's in a tough spot, but I think as long as players keep playing it and innovating, trying out new things, we're seeing that a lot right now, which is cool. It'll be great to see. We are only playing 3 Wastelands in this build. Kind of 2 reasons. One, we can't pair it with Thalia. We're not playing Thalia, so the sort of ongoing tax effect isn't there. And also just the mana base being a 4-color deck. You don't want to have too many lands that don't tap for one of the 4 colors. So I think 3 is fine. We can get them back through Ramunap. We can get them back through Witherbloom, which is pretty cool. Also, one thing you might notice is the sideboard is pretty much all free spells or 1-mana spells. And that's where I kind of like sideboarding at the moment. I think you need some really heavy hitters that keep you in the game from turn 1. You could have things like Aethersworn Canonist or Opposition Agent, but these days, against a lot of the faster combo decks, the decks where you want those sort of creatures, you're not getting to turn 3. Unless you have some of these free spells, like maybe Force, Authorities, or Surgicals. So it's really, really tough. Kind of sad as well. See some of the old school Maverick lists with like 4-mana Planeswalkers and like 5-mana creatures, and that just isn't really where Legacy is these days. But right. Up against Artisan. Last thing, playing Doomsday. This hand is pretty sweet. We have all our mana online. We have turn 1 acceleration into turn 2 Bowmaster, or potentially just getting Knight down straight away. So pretty happy to keep this. We do also need to note quickly what our fetches can and can't do. So I believe Misty can't get Scrubland. I was going to say we should fetch for Bayou. We just found the Bayou. That is a Misty deck. Hey, Joe, man, a huge thank you for the gifted subs. Too kind. I hope you're well. I hope you're having a great weekend. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. I don't have... I guess I could fetch up another Bayou. I do like the thought of having Bowmaster up next turn through Dryad Arbor Bayou and potentially during Wasteland, being able to Wasteland the same turn. So I think we will still Misty for Bayou. And then get this Green Suns online. Nice. Too kind. One thing I do find hard as a streamer is talking through my lines before I make the play, instead of making the play and then talking through it and then realizing there's a better play. The straight fetch makes me think this is just going to be a Bowmaster taking out the Dryad Arbor, but obviously not. Oh, the ring. Okay. Okay. So we don't have a blue source in play. So I think here we just want to play the Misty and then just play the Bowmaster at sorcery speed. But this does make me think it's going to be Doomsday. A lot of the builds these days are playing the ring. I will play the land, play around days, and then just Bowmaster right now. I guess I could Bowmaster an upkeep, but then they can draw cards. I believe I can also target myself. So you still get the token. Okay. From Brazil, blue-black Reanimator, but love Maverick. Very nice. Very nice. It's a good mix of decks. I wonder if this deck plays main deck ways to deal with Bowmaster, like their own, or if it's just kind of all in on the combo. The Knight here is also a shuffle effect next turn, which is kind of nice. So I probably don't mind just attacking with both the Bowmasters, but just in case they have their own Bowmaster and take out the Dryad Arbor in like our attack step, I kind of just want to play the Knight first. Could also go for kind of a Hail Mary where we fetch for a blue source and try to find like a green suns for 2 for probably Collector Ouphe. Very cool. Always cool to see these lands come into play. I know there's some speculation around like if they would or wouldn't see play in formats like Legacy and Modern, but it's very cool to see that. One thing to note here as well is if they try to go off this turn, we do have Brainstorm into Endurance. I believe I can also save targets. There we go. Alright. So this definitely makes me feel like they have to go off this turn. We do have lethal on board. 4, 5, 6. Potentially they could bounce the token. We don't have lethal and then swing back. We could potentially, if we fetch 4, 5, 6, and then find a Wasteland with Brainstorm to Wasteland ourselves, which is the extra 2. But definitely some small things. Maybe instead of the Knight, the play was to go, hey, we don't have a shuffle effect on the Brainstorm, but we do just need to find one piece of interaction like Collector Ouphe or Gadok Teague. Teague doesn't really stop the combo. Probably Collector Ouphe. As like, we don't have the luxury of waiting a turn to get a shuffle effect and a blue source with the Brainstorm. Here's a question for chat. If this deck was going to include a Snapcaster, how many instant or sorceries do you feel, not including Green Suns, because most of the time it shuffles itself, how many instants or sorceries do you need for Snapcaster to be worthy? Let's say 1 copy of Snapcaster. I was thinking 16. like for Brainstorm, Ponder, Swords, Prismatic as like a classic like blue-white deck. Hey Lawrence, very cool. Very cool to see you. Always nice to have you in chat. Yeah. I had a few questions. I had a few versions from Joe who was keen to include a Snapcaster or two in the 75, and I was kind of wondering like where we could go. Yes, that's very true. Okay, so we're up against Doomsday. So typically the Thoughtseizes are great. The Surgical I don't mind being a namesake deck. The Veils are quite nice against Thoughtseize. I don't really respect creatures post-board. Things like Opposition Agent can be annoying, but if they have Sheoldred, we have Karakas. That's the main one. The Blooms are actually quite nice. The Teak does stop the ring, but is that enough? Carpets are pretty interesting as well. The Ramunap, I find a lot of my wins come from double Wasteland on the same turn, so I kind of like taking out a lot of the kind of mid-range cards. Yes, it is very 3-job heavy, that's correct. Bowmaster, Thoughtseize, Interaction, Knights, Leovold, Green Suns, Endurance is great. It could just be Teague, to be fair, because we are going to be going for Ouphe most of the time, and Teague just hitting Green Suns is a little bit too tough, so I don't mind something like this. Being a lot of 1-drops in the sideboard as well is really nice. To have those online ASAP is cool. But yeah, the mixture of Thoughtseize and also Surgical is also pretty sweet. I'm pretty happy to keep this. Doomsday is typically a slower deck, especially this type of build, than something like Tess or Ant, so I'm happy to keep the Thoughtseize, and then turn 2 we have Acceleration into Green Suns for probably Collector Ouphe. We have our mana online as well, which I'm pretty happy about, so pretty happy to keep this. Okay. That's a great point, Lucky. Snappy being like typically needing 2 blue is a pretty big ask sometimes. And if you are going for things like, if you are adding in cards like Ponder or Prismatic Ending, just to kind of increase the count of cards that you hit, then you're going to be tapping out on your turn most of the time anyway, which is kind of tough. It's interesting to see. There is Teferi. One thing I do like to see is, are there any cards here that... The Witherbloom Command is actually really strong here. We get to go Thoughtseize into Witherbloom next turn to hopefully mill them. But like... I typically bring up the list of their deck a lot of the time, but don't really know what to look for. Like, I feel like I'm just looking for the sake of looking, but like... If we take a quick snap, we can see that there are 1 force, 2 force, 3 force. They might have even decided 1 out. Doesn't mean they actually have one, but what else do I really care about? There's a Daze, but they don't typically always play 4 days. They do have swords. That's good to know about in this white build. So swords and Teferi seem to be the ways to interact. The Veils, of course, are pretty good against our Thoughtseizes. So that's interesting. 3 petal. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so I assume there's a petal in the mix. Yeah, it's a great point. That is a very good point. Alright, start with the Thoughtseize. Try to slow them down at least a turn. Okay. I think here it's the force we care about because we really want the Witherbloom to go through. The question is, do they have a way to like brainstorm into the win next turn? Which it's hard to say. I can't just see it from this. Yeah, I think the force is good because I think in my head the plan is Witherbloom. Best card off the top is just endurance because we can endurance ourselves. So I think it is just force. Ooh, Esper Stoneblade. Nice. Yeah, see, this is where I'm at. This is very cool. I would love for someone to host like an old school legacy like event, like a challenge online. They play an island that they drew. Okay. Well, that gives us full info, which is nice. The brainstorm's a little bit tough because they can like rearrange what we actually pitch. Yeah, really awkward. Because we can make them mill 3, then we return a land. There's no land. Yeah, I think it's the only thing we can do to try to get, like, make them do something. Oh! Oh my gosh! Okay, that wasn't really a win. I feel like our opponent just didn't really know what the card did potentially. Because with 4 cards in the pile, you brainstorm, you put back 3 cards you don't care about, they get milled, you then untap, you draw the 1 card left, but then you have Oracle and the blue mana in your hand, so... I assume they sadly just didn't really know what command did, or maybe thought their pile was a little bit different. But that's the thing as well, like playing cards like Witherbloom, you can just get wins because some people don't really know what they do. There we go. Yeah, that could definitely be like a MTGO thing as well, where they thought that the mill was maybe targeting me, but the drain was targeting them. A lot of small things. Kind of scary though, that sort of build of Doomsday with white. A little bit slower though, which is nice. Like, I actually, even though they are answering my creatures, I don't really mind that. If they're taking the turn to swords or play it to fairy. They put 2 back, you mill the last 3 and die on their draw. Ah. So they had 4. They draw 3, put 2 back, and then mill 3. Ah, of course. That's very true. For some reason, I thought that the brainstorm would put 3 back, but it doesn't. Yes. There we go. Nice. Well, Witherbloom gets there. Counting, right? Pretty happy with this. I'm going to go for Savannah turn 1 off the Noble. And then if we draw another land, we potentially have a 4/4 Knight on turn 2 against maybe a Bolt deck. Could keep this for Dryad Arbor, but I do like the thought of getting, like, turning on a 4/4 Knight. Yeah, reading and counting are 2 major things. Chromox. Saga. Maybe Painter? Ooh, mono black? Ooh, okay. I feel like this could be Beseech, and therefore I should play the Teague here. Ooh, Command's pretty cool. I get to take out the Chromox and also kill this? Oh, I don't have black. Okay, that's all good. I probably want to play the Trop here in case we draw into Brainstorm. But they do have the Bowmaster down. Yeah, it's tough. Like, maybe the fetch should have been Bayou, and that way we could have had black this turn. But then we'd have to rely on the Noble for white. I guess the Ramunap getting back white means we could just go Ramunap into Knight, so I think it was I think it was probably right to get Bayou there. Interesting. 2 Chrome Moxes is pretty big. Like losing an Orc as well. Liliana, wow, okay. Did not expect that. Green Suns? I guess Green Suns doesn't turn on anyway. Windswept is pretty sweet because it stops them from getting a creature off the Saga. To get rid of this one, get rid of this. No point attacking. Could have played the Knight. I really wanted to take them off the ability to get a Saga token. That's true, they can rebuy the Orc with the Liliana. Voidwalker, okay. Rainstorm. I kind of like just holding up the Brainstorm. Playing the Knight here as a 4/4. Not sure what I'm brainstorming for. Potentially another sword. Might play the Voidwalker. That's fair. Okay. Probably putting back a Knight. Ooze is actually pretty interesting here as well, but... To be fair, we could play the Ooze and just hold up Savannah, which is swords and Bowmaster. Probably just putting both Knights on top. They're on one card as well. That's fair, actually, yeah. I think getting rid of the Voidwalker just before they can untap with it is definitely meaningful. I forgot that the Brainstorm would be there. The Chrome Moxes really add up for them. Like, that's 4 cards for 2 mana. Hey, Strass, too kind. Hopefully the league finished up as a 4-1, I believe. Hey, Harry, too kind. Hope you're well, my friend. Okay, Dismember's a little bit scary. They're attacking. Okay. What does Knight do here? We know another Knight is on top as well. So potentially you play out the Ramunap and get back a fetch land to then just have Dryad Arbor up as well if we want that. I think going wide around the Liliana is better than having the Knight in play, especially with no creatures in play. Like if they find another Dismember for the Knight, then the Liliana is definitely going off, but at least this way we can go wide around the token. Mill 2 get back. Okay. So they get back a Bowmaster. Yeah, I do like just drawing the other Knight here. And then we get a land back. Fetch once. Mana base. So we do need another white, so let's get Savannah. And then might as well get another black source and Scrub. I wonder if I attack the Lily here. I think I'm pretty happy to do that with both of these. If they want to double block one, that's fine. We've kind of got our value off the Ramunap anyway. Wow, double chump. Okay, that's great. Nice. Here comes Big Mama. Doom. Thankfully the Teague is stopping like a, I guess Beseech is 3 black as well. Agent 1 turn too slow. Sword's pretty perfect. Sword's this. Yeah. Really tough time for them. Looking at their deck, I kind of like these. I don't think they're going to be a Beseech deck. So I think we can cut. I do like the flash creatures though. Ooze is good, Artisan's good, especially if we're getting rid of smaller creatures. Uro. Leo, probably a little bit slow. You like thoughts on the play? Yeah, I feel like sometimes these decks keep like a hand around one big threat. If it's Saga, it's a little bit awkward, but if it is like a Planeswalker, or like a turn 1 opposition agent of like Dark Ritual, then hitting that's pretty good. They're probably going to be a graveyard deck, so I think like Uro is probably a no-go. I do like the Ramunap if they are going to go after our mana, but like potentially some of our graveyard stuff. Could just yoink, but yeah, Ouphe is interesting. I think because we have the forces, potentially the Ouphe just isn't worth it. Like it doesn't, it hits their mana somewhat, but I could see that being a pretty easy cut. Yeah, like something like maybe an extra removal spell. Especially having an extra removal spell for Dorothy is pretty good. That Bowmaster can't hit. Birds of Paradise. Yeah, I don't mind the extra members. I wonder if they play Urborg. Thoughtseize is nice, but they can empty their hand pretty early on. I think, yeah, like being just like a straight junk is kind of cool. Little bit of an awkward hand. Like, we do have things to do, but like Green Sun's into a Bowmaster isn't great. Ouphe backup. I'd probably rather have a hand with one piece of removal, but it's also quite... I do want to think about mulling against this deck a little bit more than others, as they do go after your hand. Yeah. Okay. Happy to keep this. Probably just bottoming 1 swords. And then we have 3 removal spells, 3 mana. Okay. Thankfully this is fine because of the dismembers. I think just in case of Thoughtseize, we will hold up Dismember. Hey Geo, thank you very much. Yeah, like I'd hate to play the Ignobled and then have the Dismember removed from our hand. Shadow Spear is fine. Do they keep like a 1-lander with the agent? Because I am all for that. Okay. I was actually going to fetch up the Scrubland, but I'm not too worried about that anymore, thanks to having the swords as well, so... I think here I just like playing the Hierarch out now. Potentially opening up a 3-mana Green Suns next turn. Okay. Cephalid. Nice. They just played a land, so I don't mind seeing if they try to equip the Shadow Spear. Okay. Wow, they didn't even attack. I wonder if they're scared of endurance. Interesting. I will fetch for a Bayou, and even if they have opposition agent, we have swords for it. Grist is a pretty sweet draw. I think we're just going to hang back on that. They do have the Shadow Spear, but I'm pretty happy just to block with an Orc anyway. But that's a big ask as well, like 2 mana to just equip the Shadow Spear to most likely trade. Sheoldred's Edict. Ooh, that's cool. That's fine. Wasteland. Wasteland's pretty sweet. But what do we really care about? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, wow, okay. We could probably nearly kill them. Bowmaster. That's take 6, make a 6/6, but they have lifelink. I don't mind taking them off double black. There's also a world that if they attack, we can block with an insect and then Orcish Bowmaster our own insects so they don't gain the life, and then see if that is lethal with a Bowmaster attack. So I do like hitting both black sources. And then probably just passing. I could attack with one. And then if they block, we just have the Bowmaster. But we want to keep blue up. Yeah, I could have kept the token. That's very true. I think here it might just be too much. Oh. Because it's 6, 6. Oh, it might just be one. They might need one more. Yeah, I should have definitely done this last turn. Okay. They used it on the Shadow Spear. Permanents your opponents control lose hexproof and indestructibility until end of turn. I guess we could also just take out the Liliana here if we wanted to. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they take 6. We get a 6/6, which is 12, and then we have 14 left. So we can't kill them. So I guess we might as well kill the Liliana. Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes it a lot easier. But yeah, I do think probably just going for the Cephalid there and then taking out the Shadow Spear equipment creature and then attacking just makes a lot more sense. So that's definitely on me. Pretty happy to keep this. It's pretty reactive, but we do have a Brainstorm potentially without a blue mana, but the Karakas is also tough because it means if we Karakas to hold up swords turn 1, we can't cast Leovold on turn 3. So like a mana dork here is what we want. And a blue one as well. Okay. Yeah, Leo's tough. I do like that Leo plus Orcish means your opponent has to find 2 pieces of interaction to start drawing cards without some sort of effect. I think being a Green Sun's creature as well is just so strong. Tundra. We play 4. I play 4 because I want to have answers to other Bowmasters. Also, just having a Leovold effect that can't be killed by other Bowmasters is quite nice. Do I even care? Like, maybe here I'm just untapping and playing the Leovold. I don't really want a sword to token just yet. Okay. probably just drop green. Yeah. I guess we could wait a turn and play Leo with Karakas open, so maybe I want to Green Suns this turn for something like a Scooze? Maybe bait out a removal spell? Fiend Artisan is interesting. Teague's also pretty interesting, to be fair. Teague turning off... Maybe it is Teague with this hand. Like Leyline Binding, Prismatic Ending, obviously Force. Intuition. Very cool. What are they searching for? It's like a... Ah, okay, just like a classic. Here we probably don't care about... Uro. Yep. Leovold Chukabog Trophy. Okay. Yeah, this will be a really tough, really challenging matchup. A really good deck against creature decks with things like main deck, like Swords, Trophy, Bowmaster. I like they went after white because it turns off like Brainstorm and Swords. We could take them off green here, but I assume they got back Misty, yeah. I feel like here we actually just have to Swords, Brainstorm, and try to hit potentially Endurance. Force. Okay. No attacks. And they're going to allow us to untap? Are they holding up their own? No, okay. Ooze. That's a tough one. Fetch and Manadork? No. I think it has to be waste, draw the Hierarch, play the Dryad this turn. Really rough, because we know about Misty. But yeah, just like a bug control deck. Okay. I don't mind Wasteland here because it makes them have to play the green source to be able to loam. Okay. Yikes. Well, they have Savannah, Trop. I assume they play more than 2 green sources. Yeah, I think that's definitely game. But at least we can see a little bit more of our opponent's deck before we concede. The intuition was really cool. But yeah, like Leo against the lone plan would have been pretty sweet in hindsight. I guess they had the force because they loamed those turns, so we wouldn't have got the Leo down anyway. Yeah. I think I like the Surgicals, the Thoughtseizes on the play, the Carpet, potentially the Veils, but we will see. Maybe even Bird there is better than Noble, just because it can tap for anything in case we are off a color next turn. Double Trop. They have a forest as well, which is good to know about. They've already used 3 forces, which is nice. I think the Wasteland's better for us in case we draw Green Suns for 3, which turns on Grist. I don't think taking off a color here is relevant. Even Green Suns here is tough because they can just replay the Uru. And Knight as a 1/1 isn't too good. going to 1 is also awkward with Orc in their deck. We're gonna dredge. No. Oh. Thought they might have replaced it with the dredge to get through Leo. But yeah, sadly right now this is kind of the abyss. I guess if we get a turn, if we go to 1, we could like Leo return with Karakas, but I think Karakas has even gone into exile, yeah. Which isn't really a winning play. They're at 7 cards. They play Stage? Okay. I guess that's kind of cool with like Intuition. We will block. Just to chump. This could definitely be a game that goes to time, so like getting more info isn't coming at a low cost. But like Hardcast Force here. They do have only 1 left, but wow. I think it is just Grist. And I don't mind tick up Grist. Could also sack. Maybe it's actually sack. Because like another Orc is really tough. Dryad Arbor. Don't draw the forest. Okay. But yeah, I think sideboarding for this, I like Surgicals, and I kind of like these on the play. I definitely like, probably Thoughtseize not on the draw, but I do like those 9. It's probably things like Ouphe and Teague, Liberator, potentially the Brainstorms. Brainstorms for like Veils and Thoughts. It's pretty interesting. Could see like some number of Mana Dorks coming out as well. Hey Maud, thanks for the follow. Hope you're well. Like it could be Brainstorms, but definitely taking out some of the creatures just don't line up that well. Like Teague, Ouphe, Liberator. Probably like 1 of each to leave 2, and then we have these. these. And then I don't mind the surgicals. Maybe the mana acceleration isn't the worst. I think Brandstone's better than Random Dorks. Yeah. I do like having ways to accelerate. So what's this? 63. Yeah, maybe the 3 surgicals overkill. Could just be 2. Like Uro and Loam or Wasteland and Loam or that. Like Witherbloom seems fine, but it really only deals with Orc. Like could be these out. And this leaves like a pretty decent way to fight against the deck. Like 3 lands, 4 spells is what I really want to see. 3 lands, 4 spells. This is pretty good. Probably happy for turn 1 fetch into Hierarch, into turn 2 Knight, into potentially Ramunap, get back a land. Bayou turns on like Thoughtseize off the top. Hey, yeah, a little bit of spice, which is always cool. They lit on Forest. Do I care that Knight is bigger than a 3/3? I don't. So I think I actually will keep the fetch for now. Play out the Knight. Spice revealed. Okay. No Surveil lands. I do really like it in like a Scrib Ranger build, but not in this build. This is fine. Oh, Wasteland. A little bit tricky. I do like Wasteland here a lot. But then playing the Ramunap out without values kind of... But I think we've already committed to it. Guess they could trophy. Ooh, Bog. Okay, that's pretty good as well. We do have the fetch land still, which is nice. Carpet. I don't really want to show that just yet. But having Veil here is nice. Swords open. Mana online. Wow, this mana base. Really tricky for them. I won't fetch just yet, just don't draw the trop. Trophy. I'm pretty happy to Veil that. Fetch for a Tundra replay. Like they could Blast Zone away the Hierarchs, but I'm not too unhappy about that. We then have the Carpet to follow it up. Still no blue for them, which is pretty big. Another land isn't great. Here's a world where they're on carpet, and I shouldn't get the trop. Maybe even going for like a Dryad Arbor to play around Sheoldred's Edict in response to this fetch. So I'm not even going to fetch here. This is where taking out creatures can definitely be an issue, where you just don't have ongoing pressure. They're going to try to Bowmaster and double block. I don't mind just getting dried up here. And then replaying. Ooh, missing a land drop. Okay, now can we try to like pounce on a Wasteland? No, but Cephalid's kind of cool. I could wait on the sweeper. I think if Sheoldred's Edict a little bit more, and I would assume they respond to the fetch with the Edict to get rid of the Ramunap. Let's go for Bayou. Get this back. They really relied on that Lorien reveal to get the Tundra. Crop. Okay. Fetch land. Pretty happy just to swords this right now. Do we care about it? I think we do. Like they're at 9. We have some pretty good draws if we like Green Suns for. Yeah, I don't think so. I was thinking if they're playing Karakas, which I assume they are in a crop rotation version, but they're probably just trying to hit the land drops. I also just want to don't draw the Scrubland. Okay, that is a start. Nice. Put back, put back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we could. We could Orcish our own Dryad to turn on Ceph. I guess we also have the Carpet, which is 1 mana, that doesn't do anything. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, because we need extra blue from the Leo. So if we did do Leo, it would be black, blue, green. And then we still have Bowmaster open. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think this is fine. I was trying to see if I could win this turn, but I don't think I could. And then I'm also just going to sorcery speed the Bowmaster. Maybe not the sorcery speed because we have Leovold, but I think this game is just a little bit too far potentially for me to not get there. You never know. Like Uro was only a game 2. MTGO is fine. So we fetch here, they gain 3. But they can't draw, which is nice. And now we have Cephalid. Nice. Should have done it before, of course, to blow this up. That's just on me, but it doesn't matter because the Cephalid is just lethal. But yeah, definitely little things there. I'm just keeping as much time on the board as necessary. We didn't really see anything different. I'm pretty happy just to run this back. Like, I don't mind the Thought Seizers. Thanks, Mark. Hope you're well. Very nice to have you in stream. Yeah, they're dead anyway, so doing it on their turn is unnecessary. Like, the extra seconds on the clock could definitely be relevant. But yeah, if it's not, they were at 3 life, but they take 3 from the Bowmaster. Because they have to draw 3. Look, I don't mind it. Ah, Leo, let's draw 1 card? Okay, yeah, that's very true. Yes. It's got mana. I kind of like it because we get to lead on Windswept if we don't want to lead on the Wastelands. But it does open ourselves a little bit to the Wasteland lock, but... Okay. Brainstorm. Hey Timmy C, welcome. Hope you're doing well, brother. Okay, I'm going to say that Scrubland is the least creature we care about the least. Oh, sorry, the land. Pretty happy just to try to get a trop here. Quick think trop, yeah. I could try to like brainstorm if they orc, we then brainstorm, but if they have force, it's pretty unnecessary. So I think I'm just going to jam a creature in orc here. See if they want to respond. And if not, we just get... Now I just like jamming the knight without playing a wasteland. Could put the wasteland into play. Maybe I want to hold the Savannah. Yeah, I don't mind that. Kind of like attacking first with the orc. Yeah, I think it's going to be wasteland in play. That also allows potentially a triple wasteland next turn, thanks to the knight. It's weird if they force this though, because they haven't played a threat, they haven't played a cantrip, they haven't played a removal spell. So you'd think they'd have a removal spell in hand. But if they force this, that kind of tells me that they don't. Yeah, I think I'd be more than happy with force. Any sort of 2-for-1 I can get out of this deck is more than fine. Because they have a lot of 2-for-1s against us. Like, I'd love to see an Uro. Like, that's 3 mana, tapped out on. Blast, I don't really mind. They could attack with the Orc there. I don't think I would block if they did. So I do want to Wasteland first and see what's up. I don't want to play the Ramunap because then they might be inclined to bog me before anything else. Float a blue. Okay. Now we'll see if we can change phase. Bounce this. I'm pretty happy to allow this, but I'm going to get rid of the Scrubland and build out my mana. I don't mind getting a fetch, but I kind of want to draw into a fetch as well. I guess we have Green Suns plus Brainstorm as well, which isn't too bad. I could double waste, that's true. But like one loam and they're kind of recovered. I think we will find a fetch. And then I'll fetch. I guess I didn't need to fetch just there. But... This makes me think they have a Force of Will effect, which kind of makes me want to keep the Ramunap and potentially just replay the Knight here. Have the Knight forced, then Wasteland. Huh. They do get to draw a card off the Grove, but I think taking them off blue is just a little bit better here. Could also do it, yeah, it's also right to do an upkeep because then they don't untap the land. Knight is a big boy. We attack. That makes me think they have like crop into, I don't know, crop into bog. I'm not going to block here. I'm not going to play any line games. There's the bog. Okay. That's not too bad. That was only 2 wastelands. Yeah. No play extra lands. No. Okay. They have the Bowmaster. They have the Blast Zone. Kind of like just getting Grist here and ticking it up. Or waste on Bog, that's true. Yeah, maybe taking them off the black source. Yeah, maybe I should have just kept up the I do like going for a mana dork here because it means we can play the Ramunap without, but I don't mind getting the force here, that's fine. Labor Siege. Okay, Ooze is pretty sweet. I think this turn I'm just going to play the Ooze, holding up Brainstorm and holding up Knight. I believe there's no more. Relic is kind of annoying. Happy just to eat the bog here. There's the Endurance, which is actually really nice in response to the Relic, and we have the Orc in response to the Relic if they want to try to draw a card. So I think here we're putting back Surgical and Ramunap, and then holding up Endurance. Play this. Get to attack as well. Okay, and get rid of the Brainstorm. No crack. Okay. I don't really want to do anything here. Yeah. I'm happy with what we have on board. Now we have Endurance and Bowmaster open. That's fine. Probably could have exiled this Green Suns instead. There are two there, yeah. So I'm happy to just do the same thing and make them put all the mana into Blast Zone. Three? Cool. So here we get to go 1, 2, 3. Cast Endurance. Endurance ourselves. Probably get rid of the Savannah. Probably rather have the Green Suns. Could have oozed. It's just a thing for time. I'm in the red, so. Okay. Yeah, I could have hit the orc. There's a lot of things I could do here, but the time's going to make me cause some errors for sure. I'm just trying to win this before the time goes out. So I don't think I'll be playing too optimally, sadly. I don't care about depths because I have the Karakas. I probably should have got a white source there. Okay. They still need something else. Got a 5, but then we have hopefully lethal through. What's this? Crop rotation. Crop for maize? I'm trying to think what they could have. Like blue and another color, maybe black, and then have Bowmaster. White. They need more than one thing here though. Swords is fine. One blue left. Oof. Alright. I need to take a little break after that one. I'll be back in 1 second. Nice. Oof, that was a battle. That was a battle. Especially first time with the deck as well. A lot of little things like fetching for the right colors, or obviously Brainstorm is pretty big. Even just knowing what Green Sun's targets are in the deck compared to like other versions that I play, but we're here. Thanks, Lawrence. All the best. Very cool to see you. But yeah, deck's been pretty sweet. Like Brainstorm's helped a little bit. We've had a lot of ways to play around Bowmaster, which is nice. There's only been a few times where we've been caught with the Brainstorms, but honestly pretty sweet. A pretty, like, just like, it's such a luxury to be able to put things back into your deck that you don't want, which I'm sure a lot of blue players take for granted, but to not have to play a game with your opening hand is pretty, yeah, pretty great. But, yeah, Leo's been kind of cool. Cephalid, getting there has been nice. Cephalid's a pretty low cost as well. The deck gets the threshold pretty easily. Having ways to find it as well through night is always a consideration. It just has that extra oomph with Bowmaster, which is sweet. It's funny though, I feel like every time we've had Leo on board, we've pretty much had Orc as well. But it is nice to have the flexibility of both. Alright, Casey. Played against Casey the other day on a... I forget what it was. This is definitely a mulligan. Mana just a little bit tough. Okay. Look, we have like turn 1 Brainstorm, or not turn 1 Brainstorm, but we do have access to Swords and Brainstorm here, which is nice. So I think it's a keep. It's probably the Coliseum that I want to drop. Hey Tim, very cool to catch you. Hope you're well. We're going to keep bottom the Coliseum. Most likely within our first 3 draw steps with Brainstorm as well, we'll find that extra draw. Hopefully a green fetch I'd like to see. But just in case our opponent is on some sort of graveyard strategy, having access to Endurance plus Ooze is really nice. Okay. I think here I'm happy to lead on the Tundra. A little bit suspect against the Scalding Tarn deck, like potentially if they have Wasteland, then it's tough, but I do like holding up swords here. Ah, it's Living End. That's right. That's right. Yeah, okay. This should be pretty good for us. This is probably a matchup like Goblin Like You One said, where Leyline is probably a little bit better than Surgical. So at this stage, just for using our mana correctly, I don't mind going for Brainstorm end of turn. Because we are going to untap and play the Ooze most likely, so finding extra green sources would be nice. Sadly, we can't really double spell next turn. I like keeping the bird. So let's put back the Liberator and a Swords. I guess the Liberator is actually quite good to pitch to the Endurance because it's not doing a whole lot other than potentially getting rid of a Architect, but we don't want these coming into play. That's the big thing. It could just be double sword. Yeah. And then we draw a sword. Wasteland's also interesting, but Wasteland doesn't do a whole lot when we don't already have a green source on the field, which is tough. It's kind of a case of like, play out the Ooze, see if they force it. But if they don't, it might just be because they don't have cards that they really care about. Like if they're going to Living End next turn, there's going to be no cards for Ooze to eat anyway. Reeve. Okay. So this is a spot where I'm just going to get rid of these. Not a great spot. Just hope they don't have like an instant speed violent outburst off like a spirit guide. Okay. We do still have a sword on top. We did hide one, which is nice. So next time we get to go Wasteland, Bird, and also sword, or potentially hold up green source for Scavenging Ooze. They could also have like Fire Ice potentially, which would deal with the Scavenging Ooze. Animate Dead. Okay. That's not too bad as we do have the sword on top. We also get to just eat the bird. Yeah, so Wasteland first. Sword's this. We will take them off the red, I believe, because of the 2 mana blood circa. 3 mana left for them. I'm happy to attack for 2 here. Hold up the green, and then next turn, or end of their turn, eat the bird, and then just start attacking for 3. We have a fresh draw as well, which is nice. Also 1 second. Another green source is pretty good. Can't be too unhappy about that. I am just going to eat the endurance. Attack. I don't think there's any reason to eat their graveyard. Oh, I guess they could just play a Berserker into Living End to get rid of the Ooze. Hey Adam, correct, not playing it. Guess we might as well eat. This returns, I believe? Yeah. Alright. Wasteland's pretty strong. I don't believe I will be, but yeah, best of luck, Adam. I would love to see you do well on it. Which I'm sure you will. I definitely know the type of player you are, so. Alright, let's look at Bosch's list. I'm trying to think what, like, if there actually is a color to go after. I don't think there is, like, yeah. Potentially blue because of bounce. That's all I can really think of. Okay. Yeah. So you're going to cast this just to most likely flip into a living... Oh, you don't have to? Ah, Delirium. Interesting. Bowmaster would be sweet here. Bowmaster would be insane. Another green source isn't bad. Can't block. Should have attacked. Apologies. Apologies. Read the card. It can't block, and it's a 3-1. Hopefully it doesn't come up. But if it does, that's a great way to learn. They're probably just attacking here, yeah. Makes sense. Okay. I mean, another Bloodbraid would have been interesting there. Like the clock would have changed pretty significantly. Find a turtle. Discard, return target card from your graveyard to hand, or return target creature. Alright. We're just gonna eat their graveyard. Ooh, Ramunap with Wasteland? Yes, please. Went up to the red because I am a little bit weary of another Bloodbraid, but... okay. I like the Veils, I like the Surgicals, I like the Thoughtseers. I don't really want to rely on Dismember. Ouphe, Teague. Teague is interesting because Living End is obviously a 5-drop. Leo, Uro, not really where we're at. Matter Acceleration is fine, but not fantastic. Like, I don't mind going down to one of each. Carpet's definitely interesting, but we are also going after their mana pretty aggressively. Ah, Living into 0, yeah, of course. I was thinking, yeah. So, yes. Liberator, most likely. I think this is a fine trade-off. Just little things for little things. Endurance, Grist, Knights. Bowmaster are fine. Bowmaster's not the greatest. Witherbloom Command is also pretty yuck. I'm going to bring in the Carpet. Probably don't mind the Uro. It's going to be in the bin, potentially, so we'll see. Could also just try to keep the green count high for Endurance. It's always interesting on the draw as well. If they don't Greek me turn 1 and I have Veil and a Mana Dog, do I just go for it? I don't mind this. It is like a 1-lander, but it has a lot of interaction. Okay. Nice. I'm gonna start with a Bayou. I guess we could start with... let's have a quick think. Like, do I really want the white right now? Probably not. So I probably just want to go for Bayou. Thoughtseize our opponent. 1 second, someone's at the door. And they're gone. Ooh. Okay. That's fair. If they drew into a living... Oh, okay. They do have the Force. I think it is probably the Force. You get to put this on suspend though. It costs 4 to suspend, to be fair. I guess if we try to surgical it, then at least they have to force. 1 for 1, 1 for 2. That seems fine. Yeah. Okay. So they do have Animate Deads. They didn't fight over it, which is really... Okay, there we go. Maybe they meant to fight over it. I would assume they meant to fight over it, and maybe just misclicked. It can happen. It's definitely happened on the channel before, so. Hey, tough one, Casey. Like, especially the game one hand, like having both endurance and a Scooze in play, like having double swords to put back off the brainstorm. So if you grief, we have another one. It's, yeah. I feel like my creature decks are just very good against that sort of deck. Yeah, I thought you would have. Yeah, we thought it might have been like just a misclick, but I think our deck is like quite a challenging matchup for you because we have so many good ways to interact. Like, endurance is obviously great. Scooze is great as pressure as well. Wasteland is pretty good at keeping you off. A little bit awkward with the Dryad Arbor, but as a 6, I'll probably keep this. So happy to go about that. But really, I love seeing Living End make its way into Legacy. Yeah, like, honestly, even with one of those pieces, I feel pretty good. But having both is just like, yeah, a bit of a luxury. The deck seems sweet. I just love the like a combo deck that also has a Force of Will plan as well is also nice. Like Grief and Force of Will in the same deck is also really nice. We've seen that in like Blue-Black Scam. Animate Dead is pretty sweet. Daze as well, yeah, Daze as well. That is very cool. Oh, we're playing first, okay. I'm gonna lead on Misty, because I think if you lead on Windswept, you kind of give away that you're on a pretty fair deck, but at least Misty could be a blue deck. Played away to 4 cards. Ooh, okay. Lucky. I'm going to assume like a mono red Stompy deck. I think here I like Windswept for Bayou or Misty for Bayou, play the Noble and then hold up Fetch for basic. It does turn off, like a Blood Moon effect does turn off the ability to Bowmaster, but then we do have Green Suns online potentially. And also a 4/4 Knight after that. Yeah, so I think we go Windswept, Fetch for Bayou, play Noble. I can only see an Ancient Tomb coming down here, which is always challenging. These versions with like Fury or Bombside Bombardier. This might also give some answers into what they have. Simian Spirit Guide. Cool. Cavern. Oh, don't name Goblin. Okay. They have 2 cards left. Okay, interesting. Muxus. Okay, so they have Mind Goblin, most likely. 2 cards. One is Muxus. So there's a few things we can do here. We could Green Suns or Collector Ouphe to turn off the Chrome Mox. I don't believe Bowmaster here does anything. I think for now, Green Suns for Collector Ouphe gives us the most outs. Land, tough. Okay. That's funny, because Trop was probably what we wanted to fetch for. So let's go for... Ouphe can attack. Play the Trop. Play this Fiend. And then we can just Bowmaster now. I'm trying to think if there's a world where they try to like cast a Skirk Prospector, and in response we can get rid of the Matron, which takes them off like 1 more mana, potentially. I don't think there's anything here other than like if they have Cradle. Yeah, I think I'm happy just to hold up the Bowmaster. Tough thing is that I really want to get towards Coliseum, because another land isn't great. Let's have a quick look. I think we just have to go for Knight here, and then hope we get a turn to untap and play a land. Higio. We have gone for the win with Coliseum, which is nice. I think here it's just play the Arbor and then get rid of the Arbor to Fiend. I will fetch as well. There's a world where we have to keep the Noble Hierarch open. I'm not going to show the basic either. Is interesting, but I think what we're trying to do is get towards exactly Wasteland. All right, 4 cards. 4 mana. Please just be a ringleader. Okay. What do they find? Ooh, wow, okay. Matron, sticker, Chrome Mox. So we know about these in hand. +1 unknown. Okay. We're definitely going for... We actually have the Swords 4 name sticker as well, which is pretty cool. So let's just quickly do the math. I just want to snip this. Alright, so for the Fiend we want 4 mana, which is pretty much this. We get rid of the Orc army and get a Ramunap. We can then sack a land to Knight to get Wasteland and then replay it as well. And then we still have Noble up with Swords. So I think we're pretty set. Oh, good lethal then, that's cool. Oh, okay. Thankfully, we have the mana. Yeah, we probably did. Probably did. Alright, we like the Dismembers, and we like the Force of Vigors. Thoughtseize is probably better on the play. There's a few things we can cut pretty easily, like Witherbloom doesn't do a whole lot, as a lot of their creatures aren't targets. It does get rid of a Chrome Mox potentially, but like the Endurances are pretty easy cuts. The Uro and Leovold, probably just not where I want to be. The Ooze isn't too bad if it goes to like a pretty grindy game, especially for the life gain. Swords is great, Bowmaster is okay. I could see a Bowmaster coming out. Maybe I'd rather a Bowmaster, because it can deal with a 2-2, or even a 3-3, and going down on a Witherbloom. Definitely tough on the draw, because I assume they're keeping a hand with like a turn 1 Bombardier or Mind Goblin. Thoughtseize against Blood Moon is also pretty tough, but we do have a lot of answers to that as well. We talked about that pre-board. Liberate, I think, is fine. Even if we are on the mana plan and we can take out a Chrome Mox, I'm pretty happy with that. I think we'll see how this goes. I'm potentially going down on Mana Dorks for Thoughtseize. There is another game. Look, this does have swords. Like, we could try to mulligan to Force, but I don't think we really need the Force of Vigor. Like, I think there's not enough wrong with this hand to throw it away. And there's not much we can do against a turn 1 hand, so we might as well try to keep this. Okay. Pretty happy with that. Could lead on the Tundra, which allows us to hold up like Brainstorm and also Sword. Like, potentially if they do turn 2 just Blood Moon, we want to Brainstorm in response to try to find... I guess then we'll just have Windswept Heath for basic. Yeah. I think here it's going to be Windswept Heath. Sadly, the Tundra's in our hand. It would have been great to go Windswept Pass. If they go Blood Moon, we just go for basic, because this can find something to get out of that. But if we had the Tundra, we could hold up Sword and also Brainstorm, plus a fetch land for basic. Magus. Okay, so Magus we don't care about necessarily, so let's go for Savannah. And then float a white. Tundra there would have been great, because then you could also try to like find like a Wasteland here. So I think here again it's going to be Mana Dork, and then probably Tundra to find something with Brainstorm more than play the fetch land. Like if they have another Blood Moon plus removal spell for Ignoble, it's tough. but I kind of like getting the blue source into play while also potentially representing a sort of Plowshares. So here we want to float blue. Rainstorm. Dismember's a great find. Okay. Put back Ramunap and a land. Fury's obviously tough. I kind of like going for another green source here. Could also play Ouphe. But they haven't played a Chrome Mox yet, so I don't think that's too relevant. Like, Grist is kind of cool. I really want them to attack with the Megas to potentially block with Bowmaster, so we can't really do a whole lot here if we want to use the black from this. Could also Grist tick down. They played 2 Megas so far. I also don't really want them to have 5 mana, if not 6 mana next turn. That's another concession. So I think here... So tough. Playing a land. We know Ramunap's a pretty dead draw. I don't mind going for another green source. It could be another Ignobled, but getting white online for swords is pretty relevant as well. Okay. Get a bit of damage in. Ah, it's 2 mana, of course. They're missing a land drop, which is relevant. Nothing we can do thanks to our mana. That's pretty funny. We put back the Ramunap. I think here we're just playing the Collector Ouphe. Maybe the Ramunap's a little bit better as a 2/3. But I kind of want... Do I want them to attack? Probably not. Yeah. I already played a land as well, but... It's fine. Okay. Do they want to fling something? Because if they do, we can just trade the Bowmaster with the broadside, which is kind of cool. They are going to fling. That is fine. Bowmaster. Ping them. And then double block. Okay. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with that trade. Okay. I think now we're probably just playing... do have double... Yeah, I think we're just playing the Ouphe here. We do have double green potentially next turn, so... They're obviously also stuck on mana, so turning off Chrome Mox as a draw is pretty nice for this turn. Okay. Bowmaster doesn't kill name sticker. Okay. That is something. Oh, nice. Well, we're putting back these two. I think we're just leaving the Magus on the board potentially. Just remember the name sticker. So we can go black 1. Just remember, choose this, use this, use this, use life. We do know what we're drawing. So there's a world. It's actually quite tough because we don't want them getting more mana. So I kind of just want them to have the Magus in play. So I think we are just going to draw into the 2 cards we put back. Yeah. But now we still have swords open off the Hierarch, which is nice. There's a world where they block, I guess. Which allows us to get rid of the Force of Vigor on top. They're at turn 7, they're on 3 lands. Maybe they're just going, hey, let's throw away the Magus and then we have access to all this mana. Yeah. Alright, play the Windswept. They're going to play the Chrome Mox even though we have the Collector Ouphe, which is interesting. Maybe for Bombardiers? Ringleader. Okay. Spirit Guide, okay. Pretty happy just to get that forest out of the deck. Not great. I'm gonna hold the bio in case we draw into a brainstorm. Okay. See what they hit. Name sticker. Okay. 6 mana. Sadly, like we had some pretty good removal. Just the clock was the issue for us. Okay. See if they go to a combat. Again, that's fine. We do have the Dryad Arbor as well. We're at 13. Ramunap's in the bin. I think I'm happy to double block here and block the 1. This is where Uro actually wouldn't be that bad of a draw. We just have the mana for it as well. Okay. I think it's got to be Uro. I wonder if we tap in away. Could also, like, Grist, take out the Muxus with a Hierarch. That's not great, though. We can have a look. I mean, if we draw a card here off the... Oh, do we take it out? Maybe we took it out because it's just so slow. Yeah. Maybe then the players ooze, but then have up the Tundra to make it a 5/5. Gain some life. Knight would be 1, 2, 3, 4, a 6/6, which isn't that big. Hey Ben, welcome. Could just be Grist tick up. Oh, how many creatures? 1, 2, 3, 4. So Fiend Artisan would be a 5/5. Pretty interesting. Could be Fiend. And also attack. But yeah, little thing there. Should have checked my sideboard before I looked. So I think holding up the extra green would have put me more on Scavenging Ooze than anything else. Okay. No extra red for them, which is good. Ringleader. Name, Sticker Fury, Chalice, Matron. So they get Matron and Sticker Goblin. Obviously, Karakas isn't the greatest against Muxus either. Wow, no attacks. Wow, wow, wow. That's a pretty huge draw. Let's be honest here. That's a pretty nice draw. If we attack for 7, kind of have to block with the mark. Maybe we attack with the Fiend here. No, then they just block with the 1/1. I think it actually is just Ooze. 1, 2, 3. I can do everything at instant speed, and there's nothing that really makes that a bad thing. I kind of want to get 2 big creatures here and just go ham. Wow, they matron first. Maybe they're going to get Simian Spirit Guide? I believe the only other card we know about is Name Sticker. They've got Broadside Bombardiers, okay. Are they gonna chain? They're gonna. I wonder if they try to chain here a Name Sticker into, and maybe something else, or just go with Bombardiers. But Bombardiers, I feel like we have to deal before they go to combat or declare attacks. Yeah. It's just too good. We're still in it. We are still in it. They don't have great attacks. Like, they have to think about the swing back as well. Wow. Oh, so it becomes a 5/5. We can make this a 5/5. Oh, no. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Is Green Sun's better than anything else here? How many lands? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we could go for Night and then still have open. Get a 6/6 in play. I do like having the big creature for Muxus, and we have a lot of things to eat, so. One, 2, 3, 4. Got a 15. It could be Grist. Like, maybe just getting Grist in play is best. deck list is hopefully on the screen. This could also grow the Fiend Artisan to an 8/8. It doesn't, but that's fine. What do we... A Green Suns goes to the bin. I don't think we've hit a Wasteland yet. That's been the big thing. Yeah. We've been able to control pretty much everything else, but just their mana. Other than Collector Ouphe hitting the Chrome Mox, which, to be fair, the Ouphe was down before the Chrome Mox came into play. Alright, come on, 4 mana. Just once for me. 5. Still pretty good with the Mountain. Alright, they're going to try to go wide. Is it all at me? We get to go to 12, but I think they might just have it because we can not block 2. No, we actually... Oh, they get an extra creature. Does that matter? That might be it. 3. I think we go to 1 here. I believe we go to 1. Because we block 6, a 4, a 4, a 4, and then we take 3, 6, 10, 11, but we gain 1 off the Savannah. So I'm just going to do this now. It's all attacking me. All right, so here, and then 4, 4, 4. And then we have lethal back. I thankfully don't think it matters with 1 card in their hand, unless it's Gut Shot. Oh, they get to use the Chrome Mox, but that's fine. Unless they have a 1 mana creature. We just attack with both. They didn't imprint, no. They did not imprint. Eight and 6. Don't need to do anything else. Very nice. There we go. Very cool. Yes! Ah, that is very cool. Yes, that one is for you, Joe. A big thank you for the list. Very, very cool. Come on! Very nice. Oh, nice. Very cool. Tech. Deck was sweet. For this league, I did want to go towards more like 4 elves and 3 elves in the board to get like a good idea of what we hit. But overall, everything kind of did a roll. The Witherblooms didn't come up too much, but I do really like them in the deck. I think the Brainstorms were sweet. We had enough answers for Bowmaster as well that you can put back things that just aren't relevant in the matchups you draw them against, which is cool. The Dismembers I think were fine. We even had them against the mono, obviously, Goblin deck, which is cool. So very happy there. Joe did have all birds, and the only reason that I like things like Hierarch and Ignoble is the Exalted. I think that Exalted is really, really good, and having like a creature that doesn't attack is a little bit tough. And Exalted did come up a few times here, like even the Collector Ouphe against Magus, that's definitely a small thing. But yeah, very cool to get the trophy. Especially in the last stream was a trophy as well with Green White, which is sweet. But yeah, like the Uro didn't really come up, but I think it's pretty nice to have in the deck just as a one-of. We seem to have pretty good mana to get Uro online, but you never know. That's going to be me. I'm going to finish up, but I'm probably going to be back tonight streaming in about 6 hours. So if you're up, if you're around, you want to see probably a different list as well, I'll be up. So a big thank you to the new followers, the new subscribers, those who gifted subs, I very much appreciate. I'll see if I can scroll. I can't, but no. Yeah, a big thank you to Jimin for the gifted subs. That's really, really nice. So a big thank you on that. I'm going to quickly see who else is streaming and send you over there. But of course, if you want to find me, you can find me on YouTube, find me on Twitter. Here's my Discord, and obviously the Green Sun Zenith. There's a new piece of content out, so definitely enjoy that. A little bit of like a message at the end about where I'm currently at, but here we are. A big thank you for joining. Cedric Phillips is live, which is cool. I've never actually got to raid Cedric, so that's pretty sweet. He's playing some Vintage Cube. But hey, enjoy your weekends, stay safe, and play hard, play fair. Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Just wanted to do another take on the deck list. I felt like some of it was pretty rushed, so it's kind of nice post-league to just talk about some things. So from the top, we have 23 lands, 23 creatures, 15 other spells. So the thing that sticks out there is probably the other spells being 4 Green Suns, 4 Swords, 4 Brainstorm, 2 Witherbloom, and 1 more. Is it the Grist, I assume, being a Planeswalker? Yeah, of course. Well, Grist should be a creature in anywhere that isn't the battlefield. Anyway, that is obviously high, and this version does take a little bit of a hit in the creature count. Although we do have creatures like Orcish Bowmasters that do create other creatures for things like Fiend Artisan, or if you were going to play a Cradle build, I'd probably, have a few more creatures in the list, so probably take out the Witherblooms, and maybe some sort of like Palace Jailer effect with those. But overall, the mana was pretty strong today. The big talking point was the Forest. So Forest is obviously great, as it turns on all of this against a Magus or Blood Moon. But we also have the 3/4, 3 Dismember post board, which kind of makes me feel like you don't need the Forest and you could go with another dual land. But it's also nice, especially against, say, like Delver on the draw, or another Wasteland deck, just to be able to go for a basic and play something like a Noble Hierarch, because it can feel really awkward when they have like the Bolt Wasteland line, or maybe your opponent's on a heavy Wasteland build of lands or opening, where I think that although the Forest can be a little bit awkward, it obviously sets you back with things like Brainstorm and Fetch Land. I think it's fine. I think it just for now it's good enough. The 2 Nobles, 2 Hierarchs, and Birds all were pretty good. I don't think it came up in just the 5 games we played where we really wanted another one, or we wanted, say, 3 Noble, 1 Ignoble. I've kind of broken this up as well, so we have the lands, the mana base, including the Green Suns package. The Green Suns targets the removal, the blue spells, and then kind of the flex spots that I think could be taken in or out, depending. And Birds of Paradise is in that list. Personally, I'm just not a fan of having a creature that doesn't attack, especially in a format with the initiative. Also a format where there's a lot of creatures that kind of match up against yours quite well. So in the Goblins matchup, we had Collector Ouphe as a 2/2 against Magus of the Moon as a 2/2. So having the ability to attack into the Magus with a 3/3 Ouphe was pretty key. And that can come up a lot. Even with Orcish Bowmasters, being able to attack with a 2/2 token is much better than just having the 1/1 there, of course. So I do like the thought of that being potentially another one, but I do appreciate the flexibility of birds being a creature that taps for any color, especially in a format right now where mono red decks are quite prevalent. It does have flying, so you can fog for a turn, maybe on a Marit Lage or a Murktide or something, but without any sort of protection in this build, like Mother of Runes, the flying is definitely less powerful, as you don't have the ability just to fog for as long as you can until your opponent finds another removal spell. The Witherblooms were good, but there weren't any sort of blowout turns. We did get to take out like a Chrome Mox and an Orcish Bowmaster in the same turn, but even that wasn't that great of a play. It's kind of a 3-for-1 because you get to take out the Chrome Mox's card as well. That's already 2-for-1 to your opponent, but obviously the Orc is credited tokens, so there's some other things, but yeah, I think Witherbloom like could just be a one-of in the deck. It's not a card that I was really looking for in a lot of matchups. Obviously Bowmaster also answering a lot of X1 creatures means that most of the time this is a choose 2 without that third ability. The life gain is usually irrelevant, so it's really just choose 2 of the top 2. And unless you're doing something really disgusting, like taking out a Mox Diamond and getting Wasteland back to Wasteland your opponent, I don't see where this kind of lines up in the deck. It's obviously really nice, it's got a lot of text, but there were a lot of moments where I felt like what we already have in the deck in Wasteland or Bowmasters was just doing what Witherbloom wanted to do. Galactique, I don't mind it. I actually am a fan in this sort of list, having both Teague and Ouphe, as they do different things, and of course if they are irrelevant we have Brainstorm to get rid of them, which is nice, or we also have Grist to just turn them into a removal spell, which isn't too bad. These are obviously a little bit less impactful without Mother of Runes or protection. Maybe there's a world where you could have Legolas's quick reflexes in the deck over Witherbloom commands as your non-creature spells, but then you're probably wanting to up the creature count a little bit as well, and with that you're probably wanting to have a Cradle maybe, or Mums. So I think as you start adding cards in like Cradle or Legolas's quick reflexes, you probably want to move away from the Brainstorms and just go down on the creature counts. Obviously the Brainstorms kind of take the role of Once Upon a Time as well, allowing you to find what you want in your early turns or get rid of some cards in the late game. It's a fantastic feeling to have like a double swords hand and realize your opponent's on Tess, then be able to like Brainstorm them away for something like Green Suns for Ouphe or Teague. That's probably one of the biggest weaknesses of Maverick, is that you have to play with your opening hand, which sounds really basic, but you know, Brainstorm changing that is pretty crucial. There's nothing worse than having, you know, Dryad Arbor in your hand when you wanted to Green Suns for it, or the last Wasteland or Karakas drawn instead of finding it off Night. Sometimes you just want to get a creature off Green Suns as well instead of casting it, so that if it gets hit by counter magic, the Green Suns just goes to the bin. You still have the creature in the deck. So Ramunap I think played a pretty nice role tonight. Renegade Rallier is a card that has seen a lot of play over Ramunap, but I do really like, I think I'm just so used to Ramunap, and there has been times where Renegade Rallier has been quite strong, but I just didn't feel like in this list I wanted the Rallier, especially at green and white. I kind of like the Ramunap as just a way to get back my lands, make sure my mana's online, maybe get back, you know, Dryad Arbor every turn as like a chump blocker, which can definitely come up. But I can definitely see where Ramunap is getting a little bit slow. There are a lot of greedy decks out there though, so potentially Ramunap is okay. I kind of like having one in the 75, even against a deck like Lands, which has won back-to-back challenges. Shout out to Granham. You do have Knight, you do have other things like Endurance, which are great, but Ramunap is just different, and a really strong card. It is, however, still one of those threats that doesn't have protection in this deck. Ramunap with Mother of Runes is a lot better than just Ramunap. But yeah, I do think it has a nice spot. I've actually kept Ooze here as well. I think Ooze has been fantastic for the last few weeks where I've been playing it, if not months. Endurance is obviously key against some of the faster combo decks, but Ooze as life gain, as a growing threat, as a way to turn off Delirium, as a creature I can just play out on turn 2, and is kind of a must answer for a few decks. Ooze has been really strong, and I really like, really like having the Ooze in there. even against some of these faster combo decks, being able to turn 1 Accelerate into mana and then turn 2 Ooze with a green open on turn 2 is nearly unbeatable for some decks, unless they go like, you know, End Step Entomb, already have a creature in the bin, and then go to like Exhume and you only have 1 creature to eat. Scooze typically does enough for you, which is cool. I really like the Fiend Artisan. I think Fiend Artisan is a fantastic card. I wanted to fit at least 1 in this deck because it gives you more outs in case you just draw a bunch of Nobles and Ignobles, or if you do want to make use of the Ouphe or Gaddock Teague, or even Ramunap against like a basic heavy deck. Binding Bowmasters with Orc is not only great from a value perspective, but it also just gives you an extra creature to pitch to the Fiend Artisan, which is nice. I didn't have Scrubland in this list because I'm not a big fan of it without Mother of Runes. And also being an X1 is a thing to think about as well. The 2 Endurances I think is pretty key. I would say 2 Endurance for the main deck is kind of where I've always been, just to make sure that I have a pretty high chance of finding it in the early game. Also being able to loop them is nice. If you get rid of 1, you can obviously Green Suns for the other to put the other back, which does come up. There are times we want both. I've seen a bit of an uptick in Painter as well with Chaos Defiler online now, so yeah, big fan of that. I kind of find that Ramunap is knight number 4 a lot of the times. I don't want the extra knight, especially in this version having both Uro and Leovold in there, but we'll get to that. I do really like having the removal suite that Abzan has in Bowmaster, Swords, and Grist. I think that's really strong. These are obviously the 10 cards we brought in for green. Sorry, for blue. We did have some counter magic in the donation deck list. And the reason that I didn't go for the counter magic was the cards were things like Flusterstorm and Stern Scolding. And instead of attacking your opponent on the stack, or at least countering spells on the stack like creatures, which, you know, have to fit within Stern Scolding's criteria, I like having something like Dismember, which most of the time answers everything you kind of care about. A lot of the bigger creatures come from the graveyard, which post-board you just have access to Surgical for them as well. So Dismember being able to just hit most of the cards that you care about while they are in play means that Stern Scolding isn't as bad of a draw if you draw after the creature you care about is already in play, or if your opponent is casting a creature that is out of range of Stern Scolding. And it was very similar with Flusterstorm. It's obviously really cool to have extra blue cards in the deck, but with Fluster, most of the time that I could think of what I wanted to hit, like removal, or potentially stopping a storm combo, that was really it. Like, stop my opponent from interacting with my plan, stop my opponent from their plan. There could be times where you're on like a Wasteland lock and you want to hit a cantrip, which comes up, but I felt like Veil of Summer really hit that spot. And Veil of Summer hit something else, which Flusterstorm doesn't, which is Grief. And Grief is everywhere. Grief is on Reanimator, Grief is in these blue-black scam decks. It's just a card that if they really care about the Fluster, they can just take it. And sure, it does mean that like one other card is then there, like maybe there's a sword still in your hand, but I think that Veil just has such good reach, and a lot more reach than Flusterstorm, that I really like Flusterstorm. Sorry, I really like Veil over Fluster, because it allows me to protect my creatures. It allows me to obviously fight on the stack, which is cool. It's great against some of the like Tendrils sort of end games of Storm decks. It can be good against Painter if they name blue. Sometimes they change it up, which they do, of course. But like sometimes if they think about Snuff Out, they actually name black post board, so then Veil's offline. But sometimes if the mapping doesn't work out, or I kind of feel a little bit different, I like bringing in Veil. Yeah, the Thought Seizers I really like, especially alongside Surgical for some of the namesake decks that are still in the format. Every now and then you run into Sneak Attack or Show and Tell. You have Doomsday. I don't mind that against Painter either. I think making sure you can turn off the Goblin Welders and Goblin Engineers quickly is pretty big. Honestly, a lot of these cards could come in against Painter. Probably not the Carpet, probably not all Surgicals, probably not the Veils, but everything else is there. So yeah, I think the one thing that I wanted to do with this list, as you can see in the sideboard and the brainstorms, is just a bit of consistency and start off with a really consistent deck where the mana base is pretty strong. We did have Triomes in there, and I just cut the Triomes to make sure that the lands were coming in untapped. We don't really have the luxury of tapped lands, I think, in this little list, but it worked out really nicely, which is great. I really like starting with, yeah, a consistent deck like this, where you have a lot of 4-ofs, a lot of 3-ofs on the board, and then you can start chipping away at potentially what's overkill. You know, what deck other than Reanimator are you really bringing in 3 surgicals against? Maybe you only need 2, especially when you have the endurances. And then, hey, maybe there's an extra card we can bring in versus Delver. Let's add an endurance to the board, because now that's 1 for Delver and also a really good replacement for the surgical. Just remember, you know, maybe there's a lot of creatures that we just want to kill in aggressive decks where Dismember can actually kill us a lot quicker. So maybe Snuff Out is what we want because we want to be building out our board at the same time. Maybe Part 2 Exile's there because we want to be hitting a lot more Reanimator spells that are coming in off Show and Tell or getting through our defenses and things like Surgical. So yeah, I think there's a lot of play to it, but pretty happy with where this was. I think 10 blue cards is pretty high. Like, that doesn't include the lands, but the 4 Brainstorms really changed the deck. You do have a lot of shuffle effects, which is good, but even tonight we found a few times where you just didn't have the shuffle to use, or you wanted to do some spells before it where you didn't have blue in play, and so you had to use your fetch land for blue and then Brainstorm. But generally, I was pretty impressed. I thought this deck was cool. A big thank you to Joe for putting it together. But yeah, that's me. We'll catch you next time.